Smash or pass? Drop it in the comments.
The continent of Dreambeasts is filled with destructive chaos. One half is ruled by a bunch of giant Dreambeasts, making it a lawless world. The other half is a utopia in which humans live. In this part of the continent, humans live the best possible lives, using parts of Dreambeasts as resources. A boy with white hair called HUNTS finds himself as a victim to street crime, getting beat up by a group of young thugs. They pressure him to hand over his food, but HUNTS is hell-bent on not cooperating because he is saving up for an adventure. While the other kids get cocky about their numbers, HUNTS grabs dirt from the ground and throws it into their eyes. He uses this blind spot to counter and takes out the leader with a vicious combo. While beating the kid to a pulp, he claims that it is not something to laugh at if someone is preparing to go on an adventure. Seeing HUNTS towering over their leader, the rest of the kids scram out of there. He turns towards his bag to pick it up, but some old man with drip grabs it before him. The old man asks HUNTS, with a huge smile on his face, about his ambitions to go on a survival at his young age. HUNTS demands his bag back before answering, so the old man respects his approach and tosses the bag back to him. He then repeats his question to HUNTS, so the young lad tells him that survival is simple. If you die, it's over, unlike his current life in the human world. The old man finds the answer amusing, so he leans down and pats HUNTS, offering him a way to resolve human problems in a simple way and teach him the basics of survival. HUNTS considers the offer and adds one of his own demands in it. He wants to learn about how to visit the world's unexplored dungeons. The old man strokes his beard with a smug look and accepts HUNTS' conditions, contingent that he becomes a Dreambeasts hunter. HUNTS curiously asks the old man to elaborate on this job, so he tells him about the non-stop exploration of the world by humans. Dreambeasts are creatures unlike them, but human lives depend on them because they provide food. Plus, the emergence of mysterious hidden lands have encouraged more people to become Dreambeast hunters and find rare species of the Dreambeasts amongst them. A profession everyone loves to be a part of everywhere on Earth. The old man proudly offers HUNTS a chance at becoming a part of this. The opportunity to go on an adventure is HUNTS' dream, so he gladly accepts. 10 years later, at a gourmet street restaurant, a tubby man chokes a waiter over the apparent bad quality of food, which is now lying on the floor. The waiter tries to plead for his life, but the fatso bashes his skull in the wall. He claims to be the Great Lie from Snowhawk. A cute girl walks into the hall, dressed as the chef. She realizes how rare of an ingredient magma lobster is, so she gladly offers to teach the correct way to cook it. She grabs the magma lobster and starts cooking it as a live session. She cuts the lobster shell with a chilled knife to draw out its heat, and then pours the oil extracted from it in the meat to draw out the natural flavor. Finally, she plates and serves it with noodles from low-grade phantom beasts. The dish shines like a gem, unlike the previous one. The slob of a man grabs the plate and devours the entire dish in one go. He likes the dish so much that he feels power surging through him, his mood uplifted. He shows his appreciation for the girl, the youngest second-class chef in the world. He claims her cooking will make him more powerful, so she informs him that better Dreambeasts have more dream energy, so a dish from those will definitely make him stronger. The whale of a man forcefully grabs her and offers her a better life as his partner, once he ranks up. The girl becomes utterly disgusted and pushes herself away from him, claiming to consider his offer. She actually infiltrated Snowhawk because HUNTS told her that he will follow her, but he is nowhere to be found. So she plans on teaching him a lesson the next time they meet. Meanwhile, in an underground beast arena, the crowd cheers on as a battle between two warriors goes on. This arena is owned by the Great Lie, as he sits in his gigantic sofa with the girl chef beside him. He offers her a dream beast of her choice. He tells her that winning here can get them every luxury they want in a human life. Nervous, the girl chef puts off his offer again by saying she will consider it. In the arena, the announcer prepares the crowd for the battle they all have been waiting for. The main event is between the dark kin from the Dreambeasts rainforests, one which the League considers to be ultra-dangerous beast class, Shadow Panther. It has killed many people in the night. The opponent fighting this dream beast is on a 12-win streak, number 11. The guard near his cage tells him that it's his turn now. The gate opens and out comes an unbothered grown-up Hertz, who is happy to have slept good in a while. The gatekeeper for Hertz's cage runs away, terrified by his carefree attitude even when facing the Shadow Panther. He only has 5 minutes to prepare for his battle, so he takes a stroll around the area. He sees some other prisoners in the next cage and empathizes with them over their similar situation. Hertz proposes the idea of freedom to them, and all of the prisoners in the cage start clinging to the metal bars, hopeful that Hertz might get them out. Seeing the crowd depend on him, Hertz gives a smile and assumes a stance. Everyone in the cage stands back when he jumps towards the cage door and kicks it open, sending it flying miles away. While everyone is shocked at his monstrous strength, Hertz one-ups it by breaking the cuffs and chains by simply pumping his muscles. He then walks out to the arena for his match. The Great Lie spots him, impressed that Hertz managed to break chains and a reinforced cage door so simply. The chef girl sits beside him nervously as he orders the ring announcer to hype up the battle even more. The announcer immediately does his job by calling Hertz the mysterious Dreambeast Hunter, looking to stretch his win streak to 13. Hertz looks up at his opponent, the Shadow Hunter, eager to fulfill its hunger. The battle commences. The Shadow Hunter takes an immediate leap towards Hertz as soon as the bell rings. However, he doesn't back down, and grounds himself where he stands to test the strength of the giant, ferocious beast in front of him. He clashes with the Shadow Hunter's claws and grabs them, only to spin it around like a fidget spinner before throwing it to the ground. He walks towards the downed beast, confused about the clash just now. The Shadow Hunter's strength doesn't match its size. As he curiously inspects his hands, the announcer concludes the battle by claiming that Hertz took down the Shadow Hunter in just one strike. Everyone is surprised at the results, but cheer on Hertz as he gets his 13th consecutive victory. The Great Lie laughs at Hertz's interesting display of strength and makes his way out to talk to him. The chef girl, grabbing the opportunity, skedaddles out of there by claiming to cook a suitable meal for the behemoth of a man. In reality, she is mad at Hertz for infiltrating even the underground arena, so she wants to collect evidence before things go south. The Great Lie, from his quarters, announces that he would like to hire Hertz as one of his men, due to his 13 straight victories. Hertz is tempted by the offer, but he refuses. Instead, he has something to convey to everyone present in the arena. The Great Lie gets angry because no one ever told him no, but Hertz just springs up to where the announcer stands. He snatches the mic from the announcer's hand and announces that the Federation has banned the underground arena because they exploit rare dream beasts, which makes it illegal. The audience takes a moment to take it in, and then laughs at Hertz for going nuts. The Great Lie, instead of finding this hilarious like the rest, orders his staff to release the Beast Kings to rip Hertz apart. Hertz sees the gates of the Beast Kings getting lifted, so he politely returns the mic to the announcer, encouraging him to continue his commentary. The Dream Beast Kings released includes an ultra-dangerous dream beast called Black Bear, an 8-eyed monkey, and another that seems to be a hybrid between a lion and zebra-type beast called the Quagga. The announcer reveals that no one ever survived fighting them, but Hertz is only impressed by his detailed explanations. Fearlessly, he jumps into the arena again, facing off against these terrifying beasts. Everyone in the arena is in disbelief over Hertz's rashness to jump in front of the 3 rampaging beasts that are thrice his size, unsure of whether he will even survive or not. The bear immediately attacks Hertz, but he dodges the strike and lands on top of it. He finds an opening and uses that to smash the giant bear's skull in, knocking it onto the 8-eyed monkey. This causes the monkey to crash out. As a wild beast, it forgets friend from foe and viciously stomps the black bear. As the 2 beasts now go against each other, Hertz takes the opportunity to focus on the Quagga, a beast that even he finds to be quite rare. He cracks his knuckles and smiles because of the battle that is about to come. As Hertz lunges towards Quagga, he asks the beast for his reasons to be serving humans, when it should be in a sanctuary. The announcer praises Hertz's ability to force a double knockdown in one hit with the Beast King. The battle against Quagga, however, might not be as easy. The Quagga manages to swallow Hertz whole in just one bite, leaving everyone in awe of its terrifying battle prowess. The audience seems disappointed with an anticlimactic end to such a hyped-up battle. The announcer was sure Hertz was skilled enough to dodge such an attack. Suddenly, the announcer notices Hertz holding onto the fur on the side of the Quagga's head. With Hertz edging his demise, the crowd erupts as the battle continues. He isn't too thrilled about being the subject of people's gambling addiction, but he decides to take care of the Quagga first. He uses the Beast King's fur as a catapult to launch himself in the air, and then nosedives with a punch straight to the center of its head. The impact causes ripples in the underground arena and the demolition of the ring. The Quagga stays down for good, and Hertz stands victorious over it. His victory is short-lived, though, as the eight-eyed monkey jumps at him as soon as the smoke clears. Hertz detects the attack and diverts it to the knocked-out Quagga. He looks over at the unconscious black bear, realizing that the monkey took care of it. He uses this opportunity to grab a hold of the monkey's leg and throws the giant beast towards the Great Lie, in case he was feeling bored with the fights. As the monkey approaches the window of Lie's quarters, his subordinates panic and suggest that he leave before he gets hurt. He gives them the side eye of disappointment, refusing to budge. The monkey finally gets too close for comfort, which makes the Great Lie mad at Hertz. He reminds Hertz that no one should dare mess with him just because he has been quiet, especially when he's built such an empire. He blasts away the monkey with just the force from his palm, sending it back to the arena. Hertz is excited to see the Great Lie's true colors as the behemoth of a man calls out to his guards in an attempt to capture Hertz. The entire faction of guards surround Hertz in the arena, all equipped with heavy armor and swords. The audience is shocked to see the Great Lie deploying his legendary unit for just one person. Lie, smirking like a tyrant, fully intends to put down Hertz for good. Surrounded, even Hertz finds the situation to be inconvenient. Suddenly, a brick headshots one of the guards out of nowhere. Turns out, it is the group of prisoners Hertz helped escape earlier, and they have come to even the odds. Every one of them gladly puts their life on the line for Hertz, as a clash between the two sides begins. The audience scrambles in fear of getting caught in the crossfire, blaming Lie for losing control over his arena. Lie watches the chaos unfold and wishes death upon everyone who opposed him. Hertz, using the opportunity, leaps miles above the ground and punches Lie straight into his guts. The strike connects, but the Great Lie absorbs the impact and slides away. Hertz, unable to grasp the situation, gets a knee to the stomach by a confident Lie. The strike causes him to spill blood as he crashes into the nearby wall. Lie towers over him, claiming to use his corpse as the proof of his right as the king. He aims to finish the battle with the next strike, but is met with a quick kick to the face by Hertz. However, even the kick somehow slips, and Lie uses this opening to smash Hertz straight to the ground. The strike sends him through multiple levels until he finally stops. Another gush of blood makes Hertz realize he has no chance of winning as of now. Hertz notices grease on the rubble behind him. He finally figures out the trick Lie has been using to avoid his attacks, and vanishes. The tubby monster stands dumbfounded. He gets caught off guard by a sudden attack from below by Hertz, who comes out the ground and strikes his guts once again, this time sending him crashing on the wall. As it seems, Hertz has finally figured out Lie's technique, exposing his disguised defense. Sitting in the crater his crash caused, Lie is unable to fathom that Hertz broke through his defense. However, Hertz doesn't consider a cheap trick as defense. He explains that Lie has been releasing his fat as grease to deflect the impact of an attack, so Hertz figured that attacking the body twice in the same spot, in succession, would get rid of the fat and deal damage. Having his secret exposed, Lie whines and runs like a sore loser, aiming to activate his trump card to defeat Hertz. Unfortunately for him, Hertz catches up to him in an instant, while Lie can only beg him to stay away. Meanwhile, outside the kitchen gates, the chef girl waits for an opportunity to sneak in, as she eavesdrops the conversation inside. The moment she hears the head chef tell the sous chefs that they will all die if the food is bad, the chef girl smashes the doors in. She claims that Lie thinks all of their food is trash. She further agitated the chefs by announcing her take over the kitchen, as they can't even do the basics properly. Seeing the smug look on her face, the chefs all get pissed off. She continues to praise herself, making them even more mad at her. She then uses Lie's patience to make the chefs obey her, and to her surprise, it works. She walks over to the stores with different meat cooking on them. She needs to find evidence based on the chairman's orders, but is unable to pinpoint anything in the beast arena. She realizes that no rare dream beast is being used as food. Suddenly, as she inspects more curiously, she notices water droplets leaking from the stove to the floor. She crouches down to examine it, and quickly figures out that there is a secret room behind this stove. She excitedly jumps up and pushes the stove aside, and finds the hidden door behind it. She sees a large keyhole on the door, and breaks into it using the oldest trick in the book, with pins. Easily able to get past this hurdle, she happily opens the door, not expecting anything big. What she finds inside shocks her. A rare dream beast called the Sad Baku, trapped inside a cage. She runs towards the cage in panic, worried that the underground arena is trying to drive rare dream beasts into extinction. She opens the cage and checks up on the Sad Baku, only to realize that it has long been dead. Extremely pissed at this absurdity, she smashes the cage to express her anger at the Dream Beast's treatment. She gets up and apologizes to the Sad Baku for not being able to save it, but she promises to avenge it by locking every illegal hunter behind bars. She walks out the kitchen with evidence that the Baku was being illegally used and decides to report it to the chairman. Out of nowhere, a butcher's knife smashes into the wall in front of her, missing her by a hair. She looks at the direction from where it came from and sees the most ambiguous-looking person ever, a judge with beach shorts riding a scooty. He refuses to let the chef girl leave now that she has seen the sealed room. She hides behind a counter, telling him that she has been working on Lai's meals. The confused judge tells her that he is the head chef for Lai, but now he has been fired due to her. She tells him that it might be because his food tastes terrible, so he whips out a huge piece of meat from out of nowhere and places it onto the counter. Turns out he has been using the Sad Baku's belly meat and seasoning it with his special, poison-looking sauce. The chef girl jumps up in disbelief, telling him that there is so much wrong with his dishes. The head chef starts to cry and whips out another butcher's knife. He complains that the chef girl took his job, and now she even knows Lai's secret, so she just cannot leave. In the most creepy way possible, he comments on the chef girl's young meat and how it would taste with his sauce. Appropriately weirded out by that comment, the chef girl just decides to leave his sight. However, he doesn't let her leave and lunges at her with his knife. He aims to actually turn her into a meal for Lai, which makes her even more creeped out. She dodges the attack, but her chef's hat gets sliced. The head chef commends her movements for a chef, but the chef girl drops to her knees in disbelief. She gets up and educates the head chef that every chef should have a hat on their head so that hair doesn't get in the food. Not sure how it was working with her Rapunzel-like hair, but she just straight up equips a cannon on her hand, telling the head chef that he shouldn't have the job because of his lack of respect. She tells the head chef that she isn't strong herself, but her partner is, and that partner gave her this weapon made from a dream beast, which fits like a glove and packs quite a punch. The head chef drops his knife in fear and begs her to let him live in exchange for the job, using whatever ingredients she like. She reminds him that his lack of respect already cost him his life, and gladly blasts her cannon on his face. The smoke clears and the head chef drops to the ground unconscious. However, due to her pride as a chef and the lesson she just preached, the chef girl picks up a knife and fork and forces herself to take a bite out of the Baku's meat with the head chef's special sauce. She puts the slightest bit in her mouth and immediately feels shivers down her spine because of how disgusting it is. Weirdly enough, she still feels her energy being absorbed by the meat, so she finds herself curious about how the special sauce works. Suddenly, a huge tremor causes the entire kitchen to shake, causing her to lose her balance. She stabilizes herself and, with the meat still in her mouth, wonders what might have caused it. The rumbling was caused by the heavyweight steps of Lai, who crashes in the kitchen looking for food, but finds the chef girl in front of some rotten meat. He pushes her aside and immediately starts to devour the entire meat. The chef girl wonders why this whale of a man is covered in wounds, as she tends to her own. Upon a closer look, she notices steam blowing from Lai's body. It's his wounds that heal just as fast as he devours the meat. Moreover, he is getting slimmer with every bite, leaving her flabbergasted. Lai finishes the entire plate of meat in a matter of seconds, even though it tasted awful, but he still feels strength flowing through his body. He looks at the chef girl and asks if she made this, so she gladly takes all the credit. Suddenly, HUNTS bursts into the room as well, calling out to Rihanna, the chef girl. Without reading the room, He asks her if she found proof that Lai was using rare beasts illegally. Rihanna hits him on the head with a pan, angry that he should be careful about his timing. While Hertz writhes in pain, she nervously turns towards Lai and asks him if he would spare her if she claims to not know Lai. However, the now slim Lai uses his fury against the two of them as fuel to lift the kitchen counter and gets ready to crush them beneath it. Hertz, finding the situation amusing, tells Rihanna that Lai is getting mad, so she suggests running out of there. The two barely dodge the counter that Lai threw at them as thanks for getting him back to his glory days. Rihanna quickly hides behind the doors after Lai's threat and reminds Hertz to protect her like the chairman ordered. Hertz finds himself a bit unsure about that part of the job as he blocks another one of Lai's relentless jabs. Hertz commends Lai's strength but refuses to back down and kicks him in the face again. However, even though his kick connects perfectly this time, Lai just endures the impact like it was nothing and grabs a hold of Hertz's leg. He laughs at how that kick was more like a massage and throws Hertz in a nearby shelf. Hertz immediately bounces back and delivers a counter kick to break free of Lai's hold. The two of them expected better from each other in this battle, but Rihanna knows that Hertz is being overpowered by Lai. She runs off quickly to make a Dreambeast dish for Hertz, but now she has no access to the sealed room. She comes across a wall and summons her black hammer. She swings it with enough force to knock down the wall, and after the smoke clears, she finds the sad Baku in its cage. She prays for peace for the Baku, as she is going to use it to make a delicious meal so that its body doesn't go to waste. She wraps a cloth around her head and quickly gets on with the meal's preparations. First, she slices the meat with speed and precision. Then, she sears it by tossing it around in a wok over high heat. After that comes her special seasoning. Finally, she strains it in a jar and completes the dish. On the other hand, Hertz finds himself getting beat up by the former champion of the underground, but his resolve to win remains intact. Fortunately for him, he picks up the scent of a very delicious meal in the vicinity. That alone energizes him. He looks around and finds Rihanna on top of a cliff with the liquid in hand. She excitedly tells him that drinking this will help him beat Lai in one punch. She throws it with enthusiasm, only for it to end up in Lai's hands, while Hertz stands there in disbelief. Both of them know they are screwed if Lai consumes that liquid, which he is a mere moments away from doing so. He gulps it down all at once, but spits it out again in the same instance. The liquid turns out to be extremely spicy that it comes out as fire from his mouth, and then he screams for water. Rihanna laughs at the situation because she orchestrated it. She deliberately threw the spicy one first, in case things went south, while she kept the real deal in her hand. She finally throws it to Hertz, who immediately catches it and gulps it down all at once. He feels extremely refreshed after taking it all in. Rihanna explains that it's concentrated meat juice, but even light than vegetables. Hertz dances around in joy, feeling truly free after having tasted such a delicious meal. His body pumps up to the next level, which Hertz realizes happened because of the juice. Now that he is ranked up, Hertz prepares to pay Lai back for the beatdown he went through. Lai pulls out a comically large water bottle from his inventory and gulps it down to cool his burning mouth. He immediately complains about how Hertz reached Dream Level 2 without effort, while Lai spent years working hard. Even Rihanna is surprised, but it's still within expectations for the chairman's student. Dream Power has 3 levels. Level 1 grants extreme durability, Level 2 gives immense strength and a golden glow, and Level 3, achieved by few, is legendary. Ignoring their power gap, Lai throws the huge bottle at Hertz to stop him from ruining his empire. Hertz casually destroys it and scolds Lai for calling a decade of laziness hard work. Lai defends himself with self-pity, lamenting that he couldn't reach level 2. Hertz repeats his master's wisdom. No one who gives up on their dreams can gain dream power. He asks Lai what his dream is, leaving him stunned. It's been a long time since he thought about it. In a flashback, Lai and his friend Vian stand at the Mami Highlands, the border between the human and Dreambeast world. Vian is thrilled to be near his dream, but Lai backs out last minute. Shocked, Vian grabs him, saying they were going to find a rare Dreambeast and build a good name for themselves. Lai stops Vian and explains that people look down on them not for their strength but for being poor. Finding a rare beast won't change that. Vian insists that they don't need others' approval and that the journey itself is what matters. Lai turns away, calling the dream pointless if it can't be achieved, claiming power and money are all that count. Vian accepts his decision and pursues his dream alone. Lai looks back with a proud smile for Vian's courage, which he lacked, settling instead for fame and wealth. He wishes Vian well and leaves. Back in the present, Lai drops to his knees, crying over the dream he gave up for power and greed. He rises again, golden light surrounding him. Still, he complains about having no connections and settling for money and power. HUNTS reminds him that dream power comes from believing in miracles. Money, power, and luxury won't get him to the next level. Enraged, Lai tells him to shut up and hurls fireballs, underestimating a level 2 HUNTS. HUNTS dodges behind a rock but is surprised when a fireball breaks through, impressed that Lai has gotten stronger. Lai, too, realizes his battle instincts have returned, thanks to HUNTS. As he charges up a powerful attack, Rihanna sneaks behind him but blows her cover by stepping on a stick. Lai notices, and she tries to play it cool. He turns and fires at her, now that she knows his secret. Rihanna summons Kuro, a shield, but Lai's fireball breaks through, getting dangerously close. Bracing for impact, Rihanna calls out for HUNTS, and he arrives just in time, whisking her away. She opens her eyes like a princess saved by her prince, but saying true to her nature, strangles him for being late. Watching this, Lai thinks they're flirting and fires more blasts. Rihanna panics, but HUNTS calmly tells her to trust him, then suddenly flings her into the air. She realizes too late and screams curses while HUNTS shrugs. Promising to make it up to her, he focuses on Lai. In a flash, he leaps the distance and prepares to strike. As Lai processes HUNTS' speed, he's hit by a new move, Blast, developed mid-fight. The punch sends him flying into a wall. As the dust clears, Lai sits among the rubble, seriously injured. The vibration from HUNTS' punch passed through his fat and damaged his organs. Smirking, Lai admits defeat. But before surrendering, he calls HUNTS closer to reveal one last secret. Though wary of a trap, HUNTS approaches. As expected, a metal cage snaps shut around him. Disappointed, HUNTS realizes he's been played. Lai smugly explains that this is his territory, and of course he set traps. The cage is made from swamp serpent bones, strong enough to imprison even a level 2. HUNTS tries his best to convince Lai to surrender before the guard corps arrive, alerted by Rihanna, and sees all evidence that could get Lai jailed. Meanwhile, Lai mocks HUNTS, saying his backup isn't coming. Right then, a massive explosion erupts behind them. Lai had planted bombs around the arena to eliminate anyone who knew his secret. Confident his secret will die with them, Lai declares victory and tries to kill HUNTS and everyone with him. Fired up, HUNTS redoubles his effort to escape. Luckily, the contractors Lai hired had used ordinary stone for the floor, so HUNTS lifts the cage instead of breaking it. Lai fires more fireballs, but this time HUNTS uses the indestructible cage as a shield. He mocks Lai, but Lai instead targets Rihanna, who's fleeing in a balloon, defenseless. Still unable to hurt HUNTS directly, Lai attacks Rihanna again. Once more, HUNTS leaps between her and the fireballs with the cage, blocking the blasts. They crash to the ground, tangled together in the cage. HUNTS checks on Rihanna, who clutches her dizzy head, fearing one of these days she'll die. Suddenly, a tempest tiger bursts out from under the rubble with a roar. Rihanna identifies it as the weather-controlling Dreambeast. HUNTS recognizes it as Biss's friend. Dozens of armored vehicles surround Lai, who is shocked to see Biss alive. HUNTS reveals he told Biss about the Beast Arena long ago, allowing him to finally find it. Lai, stubborn as ever, vows to return and tries to escape, but the now level 2 HUNTS intercepts him with speed. Though he can't defeat Lai while trapped, HUNTS holds him off until capture. Lai struggles to break free, but can't match HUNTS' lightning reflexes. He offers bribes of wealth and women, but HUNTS is unmoved. While Lai stalls, guards pour from the vehicles, armed with military-grade weapons. They surround Lai and HUNTS. The squadron leader gives the order to fire. Lai panics, but is shot with a net instead. The sharp threads slice his hands as he struggles, causing heavy bleeding. The leader tells him to surrender, The net is made from silkworm, a dream beast with skin tougher than steel, strong enough to trap even large dream beasts. The leader is Bis, from the gourmet unit of the Guard Corps. Rihanna alerts him to the sad Baku in the arena, confirming Lai's crimes. Bis shows Lai an arrest warrant listing beast arena operations, human trafficking, and illegal use of rare dream beasts. As Lai is taken away, he makes one last empty threat, but Bis ignores him. Hertz asks Bis to help free him from the cage. Rihanna jokes he's better off inside, but Bis slices through the hardened bars effortlessly, freeing him. Bis praises both Hertz and Rihanna for a successful infiltration. Hertz credits the mission to his master's request to investigate Lai's dream beast supply. Rihanna noticed the beast didn't smell right and lacked full effects. That led them to this town, where Hertz suspected Lai but learned there was more. Rihanna jumps in, explaining the rare dream beasts were too weak to be real, fakes used to fool underground buyers. Other than the sad Baku, none were being sold. They were turned into food for Lai. Hertz tries to figure out where Lai got the ingredients but draws a blank. He asks Bis if there are any leads. Bis says he doesn't know the supplier, but has two odd clues that may be related. Curious about the two strange clues Bis mentioned, Hertz asks him to elaborate. Bis explains that 6 months ago, the thugs in Gourmet Town mysteriously vanished, shattering the town's peace. When investigated, the only evidence left were beast claw marks. Hertz asks about the beast, and Bis says experts identified it as a dream beast with immense power. Despite this, the steel ramparts built to keep such beasts out were untouched. Hertz struggles to make sense of it, prompting Rihanna to call him an idiot and turn cutely to Lai for answers. Still arrogant despite being in custody, Lai refuses to talk until Bis draws his sword to his throat, warning him not to waste time. Lai protests that killing him without a trial breaks federal law, but Bis calmly replies that if a dream beast were to accidentally attack during capture, it wouldn't be suspicious. Right on cue, the Tempest Tiger roars. Cornered, Lai gives in. He says a black-cloaked figure visited him in his sleep, offering rare dream beasts in exchange for silence. The figure killed Lai's men and severely injured him, forcing Lai into obedience. Bis asks the figure's goal, but Lai only knows he was told to eat dream beasts and host battles in the arena. The beasts were delivered via the sewers, where Lai found them piled up and obeyed out of fear. He clutches his head, defeated, realizing he can't match someone who slaughters rare dream beasts with ease. Bis orders Lai taken away and spells things out for Hertz. 6 months ago, a man emerged from the sewers. Using dream power and elite gambling skills, he built an entertainment empire and a loan shark business. He's their main suspect. His name? Agray. At a casino where gambling and vice run rampant, a man whines about losing his savings to the poker master. Agray, dressed in a lavish suit, sipping wine. He declares the game over and confidently goes all in. The other player questions his move, but Agray laughs maniacally, convinced he's already won. When the opponent tries to cheat using dream power, Agray instantly slices his hand with a card enhanced by dream energy, warning him not to tamper with the dice, per casino rules. Suddenly, applause rings out. It's Hertz and Rihanna, impressed by Agray's keen eye. Hertz challenges him to a game. Disgusted, Agray asks if Hertz knows the stakes. The poker games revolve around poisonous dream beasts. Consuming one grants a chance at dream power, but also risks death, unless prepared by an expert chef. Thrilled by the high-stakes nature of it all, Agray spills his chips, saying the loser becomes food for the beasts. He calls money and prizes boring. True excitement lies in power. If Hertz wins and survives the poison, he can join Agray as a subordinate. Agray repeats his terms, emphasizing the high-risk, high-reward nature of the game. The dead are disposed of easily, increasing the odds for the next gambler to succeed. Hertz is furious that Agray gambles people's hopes on poison bugs, but Agray has no remorse. He tells Hertz to leave unless he's playing. Hertz agrees to play, but with his own terms. Instead of betting for power from poison, he wants Agray to reveal the dream power he gained from the sewer. Agray, insulted but intrigued, accepts the challenge. Confident he can't lose, he lets Hertz choose the game. Hertz picks poker, with Rihanna standing beside him calm and ready. A gray snaps his fingers for a server to deal. The cards are dealt. Both players lock eyes. Hertz makes the first move. Despite a gray drawing a pair of kings, Hertz fearlessly goes all in. A gray mocks him for risking everything so early, but Hertz says dragging the game would only put him at a disadvantage. This gamble is worth it against the god of gambling. A gray smirks and puts on a show of what happens to losers. His servers drag the previous player to a cage of poisonous beasts. One beast injects venom that drains his life. Quickly, Hertz throws Rihanna's kitchen knives, slicing the beast's tail to save the man. Rihanna rushes in and pours a potion into his mouth, instantly restoring him. The amazed crowd watches. Hertz explains the potion was broth made from the rare Sad Baku, which neutralizes poison and draws out life potential by using up the venom. He reminds Agrey this act still followed the rules. Impressed by Hertz's generosity, Agrey resumes the game. Agrey matches the all-in bet and wins the round with a pair of aces over Hertz's kings. He mocks Hertz for losing and jokes about choosing a nice burial spot. But Hertz remains calm. He had a hidden chip in his hair as backup. Agrey urges him to quit and accept defeat, but Hertz continues with confidence. Surprisingly, Hertz wins the second round. Agrey dismisses it as luck, but Hertz keeps winning round after round. The crowd watches in shock as Agrey, cornered for the first time, accuses Hertz of cheating. Hertz turns the tables and reveals Agrey as the real cheater. Agrey had laid a web of dream power across the casino to read and influence players' thoughts, something undetectable to normal people. The revelation enrages the crowd. Hertz dubs him the king of cheating. Agrey tries to deny it, claiming all his wins were skill-based, but Hertz explains the first round was bait to understand Agrey's trick. He then used his own dream power to interfere with Agrey's web, disrupting the flow of information and throwing off his game. Exposed, Agrey decides to kill everyone inside the casino and trap them to keep his secret hidden. He plans to manipulate the media and blame the carnage on a fire, with himself as the lone survivor. Rihanna quietly asks Hertz if he can still win. Hertz admits he had a losing hand, but Agrey was so busy monologuing that he threw the game. Furious, Agrey smashes the poker table and hurls magical cards at Hertz. One pierces through, but Hertz remains unfazed. He tells Rihanna to handle the henchman while he takes on Agrey. She happily agrees, summoning a triple-shot cannon that stretches to hit multiple guards at once, clearing the field. Hertz charges at Agrey with a confident punch, but Agrey swiftly dodges. He then throws a full deck of sharp cards, impaling Hertz in several places. Still, Hertz powers through and attempts a kick, but misses again as Agrey evades effortlessly. Hertz hits the ground, realizing Agrey's reaction time is premeditated. Meanwhile, Agrey, with full confidence, draws another deck, ready to finish the fight. Hertz finds a way to counter Agrey's card barrage by embedding the thrown cards into his muscles and using them as shields. With his tricks exposed, Agrey panics and tries to retreat, planning to rebuild the knightless castle someday. But Hertz easily catches up and beats him down, dragging him over to Rihanna, who has also finished capturing the henchman. Rihanna worries about Hertz's injuries, but he casually pumps his body once, forcing all the cards out. He grabs Agrey and demands the truth about his new power. Agrey complies. He explains that 6 months ago, while homeless and scavenging, he followed an irresistible aroma to a sewer entrance. Despite its odd origin, the scent drove him forward. Inside, he witnessed a brutal civil war among grease rats, garbage-feeding Dreambeasts, fighting over a single drop of blood, the source of the smell. Agrey stomped through the rats and consumed the drop. Hertz realizes that's how Agrey unlocked his dream power, even if Agrey doesn't fully understand it himself. When asked about the poison beasts, Agrey again mentions the black-robed man. Rihanna calls Hertz over to the poison beast cell and chops off a claw. Hertz tastes the meat, tearing up from the intense flavor. He calls it bitter, more like a training laxative than food. Rihanna identifies it as a poison scorpion, but notes its size is unusually large for a sewer beast. As a chef, she explains that such bitterness is sometimes used as seasoning. She also spots a strange flower-like pattern on the claw, something a low-tier beast like this shouldn't have. Crossbreeding with high-tier beasts is normally impossible, leading her to conclude this is an artificial dream beast. Agrey confirms the scent matches what he smelled in the sewer. With this, Rihanna decides their next move: investigate the city's sewers. Agray, thinking he's earned freedom, begs to be let go, but Hertz ties him and his men to the ceiling for Bis to collect. Rihanna elbows him, reminding Hertz of his promise to take her Dreambeast ingredient hunting. Later, Hertz and Rihanna enter the sewer. To their surprise, there are fewer beasts than expected, and the water is clean. Rihanna grows suspicious. Agray's story isn't matching up, as not a single rat appears. They reach a medieval-style gate, eerie sounds echoing from behind it. Hertz wants to check it out, but Rihanna refuses to enter such an unhygienic place as a chef. He tells her to guard the entrance while he investigates. Navigating narrow tunnels, Hertz reaches the end and sees light. There, he's stunned by the sight before him, a rat statue surrounded by waterfalls. At the other end of the tunnel, Hertz finds a grand place, hidden underneath Gourmet City. There, he detects the source of the aroma, coming from beneath the water. He finds himself curious to explore, but reluctant to enter sewer water. Rihanna, in her full diving suit, gives Hertz an idea. He flirts with Rihanna to get one of her shape-shifting serpents, which he has to give up because of his clingy behavior. She commands the serpent to transform, giving Hertz his own suit, and then the two of them make haste. Hertz goes deep underwater and finds a giant, beating heart in a cage. He gets close to examine it, but moves away when the heart suddenly stretches its tongue out to feed on a nearby rat. It then sucks in all of the nearby fish, devouring them in one mouthful, only to release a familiar-looking drop of blood. Hertz tries to store it in a tube for further analysis, but the drop of blood reacts and shoots itself upward. This causes the bats in the sewer to react and instinctively attack Rihanna, but she gets saved by Hertz in time. Then they change out of their suits, and Rihanna puts up a protective barrier to keep the bats out, with her serpents devouring any that get close. With Rihanna on defense, Hertz steps out for offense. He witnesses one of the bats feed on the droop of blood, which turns it into a huge, jacked monster bat. Dumbfounded about the whole situation, Hertz and Rihanna witness the now giant bat create a green web all over the sewer, devouring the bats around it, and land on the rat statue. The bat charges at the two of them, making Rihanna scared of this sudden transformation. Hertz noticed that it became big either by drinking the blood or eating its own kind. The bat attacks him with its claws, but Hertz manages to hold it down, excited to see how strong the bat has gotten after the blood intake. Hertz flings the bat beast at the sewer ceiling and follows it up with another strike to bash its skull in. The bat beast helplessly gazes upon Hertz's intimidating eyes as he mercilessly puts it out of its misery. After that, Rihanna and Hertz leave the sewer. As they reach outside, Rihanna asks Hertz about anything important he found, so he tells her about the heart locked up in a cage underneath the water, which is also the source for the blood that transformed that bat. He reflects on how weak that bat was, regardless of its size, like the beasts in Lai's arena. He considers taking out the heart and go on a trip with Rihanna, who suggests leaving things to the chairman. However, to fulfill his dream of exploring the world's remote regions and meet every rare dream beast, Hertz and Rihanna still go back to grab the heart. They go back and find the structure of the place changed. Hertz sits outside the water body, cursing his luck. Suddenly, he notices the giant statue in front of him move. The statue warns Hertz and Rihanna to just leave, but considers just killing them since they know about the heart, leading to inevitable investigation. The statue's shell breaks, and out comes a talking chase rat, which is unusual for any known beast. Rihanna informs Hertz that it may be talking through hypnosis, as it is easy to be done to sewer rats. While the chase rat warms up its body in a gloomy magic sphere, Hertz tries to figure out where the human controlling this chase rat is hiding, and why is he using this chase rat to guard the heart. The chase rat finally gets ready to brawl with Hertz, who charges in head-on, thinking he is up against just another rat. To his surprise, his quick punch gets easily evaded by the rat. Unable to comprehend the sheer reaction speed, Hertz gets hit with a counterslash that sends him all the way back to Rihanna. She explains to an unscathed Hertz that the hypnosis has boosted the chase rat's speed and power, but it's going to die if the battle drags out since it's using its lifespan as the energy source. The chase rat is impressed. Rihanna knows so much about chase rats, but he feels confident that it has enough time to take down the two of them. Hertz kicks a huge chunk of floor out to shield himself from the strike, and then lands a counter kick that sends the rat flying. Hertz's quick thinking impresses his enemy, but our boy just cannot play defense even in an endurance battle. As Hertz charges for another strike, The rat retreats to a higher point to come up with something other than a battle of strength. The rat slices its gut open and drops his blood into the water below, turning it green all the way. Hertz gets surrounded by fog of emerald viper's venom, capable of knocking someone out with one whiff. Even a single drop can kill everything breathing in the sewer, making the chase rat confident in its victory. As Hertz frustratingly loses his strength, Rihanna enters the field with a lifeline. It seems to be a rice cooker, something delicious and effective, cooking inside it. The rice cooker, which initially seemed suspiciously out of place, turned out to be something entirely different, an air purifier ingeniously crafted from a serpent. This strange device had a unique function. It sucked in the emerald viper's venom from the air and filtered it, cleansing the atmosphere around them. Thanks to it, Hertz was able to recover fully, regaining the strength he had lost during their earlier encounter. He looked to Rihanna, genuinely thankful for the support she had provided. Without her assist, he wouldn't have been in any shape to continue. Now, ready for round 2 with the rat, Hertz prepared himself. He buried his foot deep within the murky, toxic sewer water and with a surge of strength, launched it upwards in a massive arc. The powerful kick shot water straight toward the emerald viper, who responded swiftly. The creature combined its eerie dream power with condensed poison, forming a thick shield in front of itself. It wasn't just for show. Hertz could tell from a glance that this wasn't some ordinary foe. The sheer intensity of the viper's defense made that clear. The rat seemed impressed by Hertz's determination, but he didn't let it show for long. The rat had no intention of drawing things out. He immediately launched a direct attack at Hertz. Mid-battle, Rihanna's serpent purifier began to malfunction. The sheer concentration of poison in the air had far exceeded the limits of what the device could handle. As the purifier sputtered and failed, Hertz found himself at a disadvantage once again, the venomous atmosphere growing more oppressive by the second. But despite this setback, Hertz had one edge, his higher endurance for using dream power. It was something the Emerald Viper didn't seem to possess at the same level. As a massive poison orb, Hertz didn't even hesitate. With sharp reflexes, he kicked it away midair, sending it crashing into the sewer wall where it splattered violently, hissing. Rihanna, analyzing the situation, questioned the rat about his body's capacity to output such an enormous amount of demon power without burning himself out. The rat, grinning, made it clear. He was more than willing to throw his life away if it meant taking the two of them down with him. That declaration made Hertz falter for a moment. He couldn't help but fear that they might actually die here without even getting the chance to retrieve the heart they had been seeking all along. But something caught Rihanna's attention. She noticed a particular trait about the poison in the air, something unusual. Acting quickly, she signaled Hertz, and the two of them dashed together toward the sewer's exit. Once there, Rihanna whipped out a serpent-shaped lighter from her coat. Without hesitation, she hurled it back toward the trail of poison they had just escaped from. The second the flame connected with the venom lingering in the air, a huge explosion erupted behind them. She called it art. The entire sewer went up in flames, fire chasing them as they barely managed to leap out in time. The enclosed narrow space helped amplify the blast, causing it to spread with violent speed. Rihanna had detected flammable components in the Emerald Viper's poison and used it against him in a brilliant move. She grinned at her own cleverness, glad she had used the serpent as a fireproof umbrella to shield herself. Hertz, unfortunately, hadn't been as lucky. He got caught up in the aftermath of the explosion and was left a bit singed. As the flames finally died down and the two of them began to recover, Biss entered the scene. He looked around at the wreckage and immediately began complaining about their habit of blowing things up, this being the second time in just 3 days. Hertz, brushing ash from his shoulders, told him that despite the chaos, they had discovered something big, something worth the mess. Far from them, in a shady castle cloaked in shadows, a little girl named Leonia sat solemnly in front of a large chessboard. On the board, one of her pieces, the rat, cracked and shattered. A shady black man seated across from her watched with interest. He casually complimented Hertz and his companions for being formidable opponents, while moving another piece and informed Leonia that the rat in the sewer has died. Just then, one of Leonia's servants entered the room. She respectfully suggested that they retrieve the heart. But the shady black man declined the idea outright. According to him, the heart had already been destroyed, And its loss didn't interfere with their bigger plans. In fact, it didn't hurt them at all. To him, this was merely the beginning. The time for something else, something greater, was now. Back at a quiet inn, Hertz sat at a wooden table scarfing down the food Rihanna had cooked. Her meals were always delicious, and he wasted no time gobbling it all up. Biss sat nearby and told Hertz to call the boss once he was finished eating. But Hertz waved him off, ignoring both Biss's command and Rihanna's concerned glances. He was far more focused on satisfying his hunger than dealing with anything else at the moment. Rihanna, watching him eat so casually despite his burns and injuries, couldn't help but wonder just how badly he was really hurt. At the guard unit, Rihanna examined the scars on Hertz's back, expecting to see damage from the recent chaos. But to her surprise, the skin was smooth, completely healed, as if the injuries had never existed. She blinked, then leaned closer, unsure if she was seeing it right. Hertz, on the other hand, had already returned to his usual relaxed self, finishing the last bites of his meal like nothing had happened. Not long after, his superior, Forces, contacted him. The call was a routine check-in, a follow-up on Hertz's current mission. Forces' voice came through the communicator, steady and formal. Hertz groaned at the sound, not hiding his annoyance at the troublesome task he'd been handed. Still chewing, he launched into an explanation of everything that had happened in the sewer, laying out each event in rapid-fire detail, how the purifier worked, how the rat fought, and how Rihanna blew the place sky-high. Listening carefully, Forces didn't seem too surprised. Instead, he deduced something deeper. He concluded that their opponent wasn't some inexperienced amateur. After all, it took serious knowledge and power to turn a sewer rat into a deadly, calculated foe. That alone pointed to someone older and far more dangerous than they had expected. Then, Forces mentioned a name, Dark Abyss. The moment he said it, Hertz blinked in confusion. He had no idea what that was. Forces, realizing this, began to explain. The Dark Abyss was a group, one feared by many and forgotten by others. They hunted and traded Dreambeasts and their body parts on the black market. Their ruthless actions had driven 117 species of Dreambeasts into extinction. A century ago, to stop the bleeding, the Federation boss at the time gave Forces a single mission: wipe them out. This surprised Hertz. He tilted his head, narrowing his eyes. A century ago? Suspicious, he questioned Forces' age, but the old man just brushed past it like it was nothing, returning immediately to the story. He revealed that back then, the boss of Dark Abyss had somehow managed to escape and had remained in hiding ever since. No one had seen or heard from him in decades. But based on Hertz's report, Forces now suspected that he, or someone very much like him, was back. The signs were clear. The manipulation of Dreambeasts for personal gain, the deadly poison tactics, it all pointed to their old nemesis. Still rubbing his full belly, Hertz leaned back and muttered that it wasn't easy finding someone who didn't want to be found. If this guy had truly been in hiding for so long, locating him now would be like chasing mist. But Forces wasn't done. Knowing exactly how to push Hertz's buttons, he reminded him of his long-standing dream, to one day visit the Dreambeast Realm. That immediately got Hertz's attention. Forces then revealed that the place they needed to investigate was located at a volcanic lake, 1,500 meters above sea level. On the island nestled within that lake, some of the rarest Dreambeasts ever documented resided. Hertz's curiosity, despite his earlier complaints, was clearly sparked. Soon after, Rihanna, Hertz, and Forces traveled to the island, not in person but as projections. Even in that form, the realm was breathtaking. As they explored the strange terrain, they came face to face with one of the legendary creatures, a six-winged crystal crab. Its body shimmered under the volcanic light, encrusted with glittering jewels and gleaming like a moving sculpture. Its features were exactly as its name described: majestic, dangerous, and rare. The crab's meat and the gems embedded in its body weren't just valuable, they were used to create culinary masterpieces that could not be resisted. The soup made from the crab's flesh was said to enhance one's physical abilities far beyond natural limits. It was no wonder the Dark Abyss would be lurking nearby. The creature only appeared once every 100 years. And that month? That was the time. Back at the guard unit, the projection faded, but the image of the crab still lingered in Hertz's mind. His mouth watered uncontrollably at the thought of its flavor, and he struggled to contain himself. Rihanna rolled her eyes and physically held him back as he leaned forward like a dog spotting steak. Forces used this moment of motivation and offered the mission to Hertz once again. This time, without hesitation, he agreed. But Hertz quickly came to regret that decision. Climbing a volcano was hard enough, but climbing while carrying a giant wooden box on your back, with Rihanna inside it, was another matter altogether. He groaned with every step, sweat dripping down his face as the ground beneath them rumbled with heat. His legs burned, and his complaints echoed through the wind. He couldn't help but question why Rihanna had even come along to such a dangerous place. But Rihanna, poking her head out of the box slightly, scolded him immediately. She reminded him loudly that someone had to keep him in check when it came to Dreambeast preservation. He was a hazard to nature, she said, and she wasn't about to let him mess things up just because he was hungry or careless. Their bickering was short-lived, however, as the sky suddenly darkened above them. A flock of glutton birds flew overhead, circling like vultures. They were clearly not pleased with the human intrusion. These weren't harmless creatures. They were considered medium-level threats, dangerous enough to rule the human world on their own. Encountering them now, during the climb, was the worst possible outcome. Without warning, the glutton birds dived. As they attacked, Rihanna acted fast. From her belt, she summoned her serpent once again, and with a sharp motion, it transformed into a long whip. With perfect timing, she lashed out, snaring one of the birds mid-flight and dragging it down with brute force. The creature hit the ground hard with a thud, feathers scattering. She turned to Hertz, proud and unwavering, and told him to keep moving. Taking a deep breath, Hertz did exactly that. With his remarkable speed and powerful legs, he leapt up the jagged terrain in bursts, closing the distance toward the top edge of the volcano. Behind him, Rihanna kept the other birds at bay, her whip cracking through the air with precision. Together, they reached the top, winded but confident. As they stood at the summit, they came face to face with the final two glutton birds. But instead of attacking, the creatures hovered cautiously, their bodies shaking, eyes wide in fear. They weren't preparing to fight, they were terrified. And that was when Hertz and Rihanna realized something even worse was waiting just beyond the peak. The remaining glutton birds retreat as Rihanna teases them, which enables Hertz to continue his ascent. However, the boss of the glutton birds suddenly arrives, screeching. Rihanna quickly caves in and asks Hertz to abandon the mission, but Hertz refuses to do so as he has a plan. The glutton bird roars and smashes the volcano with its feet. Hertz manages to time his dodge and grabs onto the boss bird's legs. The bird fails to locate the two of them as they climb towards its head. One of the little glutton birds try to approach Hertz while he finds his balance, but immediately gets kicked away by him. Hertz then climbs on top of the head of the boss bird and grabs its hair strands like reins to control it. The bird, in excruciating pain, is unable to control its crying, while Hertz tries to maneuver it towards his destination. Rihanna, annoyed by the bumpy ride, smashes the boss bird in the head, which finally calms it down, letting Hertz finally get the hang of it. Unwillingly, yet still fearful, the boss bird takes them across the Dreambeast world and at the top of the volcano. Suddenly, the boss bird stops at the top, telling Hertz that it is afraid of something up ahead. Rihanna and Hertz get off, confused, and send away the boss bird, telling it to not mess with climbers of the mountain again because only people with guts come to the Dreambeast world. Rihanna then addresses the fact that the thing ahead of them managed to scare of a boss glutton bird, one capable of ruling over the human world. Hertz expresses his desire to finally catch the six-winged crystal crab, but Rihanna smacks him in the face, reminding him that they are only here to gather information and not to feast. She informs him that the six-winged crystal crab lives in the volcanic lake's bottom without moving, hence its non-violent diet of just small fish and shrimps. Its stillness is also the reason why people consider them jewels. Meanwhile, at some other point in the Dreambeast world, a group of unknown dwellers find a huge six-winged crystal crab, which remains so perfectly still that it's hard to spot it. On the other hand, Rihanna figures that the thing that scared the glutton bird was not the crab, but rather something else, which gets Hertz hyped for what is to come. Hertz and Rihanna walk through a warm autumn canopy, taking in the beauty around them until Rihanna steps on literal poo on the road. Hertz takes the opportunity to tease her, but is interrupted by a sudden growl from the bushes. A dream beast called the stub tiger walks out, and while it is a beginner-class beast, the difficulty level appears to be high that even Hertz acknowledges it. The tiger creeps slowly, finding a chance to pounce on the duo. However, Hertz spots it easily and challenges it head-on with confidence. Suddenly, the stub tiger flops to the ground due to some past injuries catching up to it. Rihanna examines its body and concludes that it cannot be saved anymore because all the injuries are lacerations. She determines that the adrenaline the tiger had brushed off when it got scared of hurts, causing it to die. She further adds that the claw marks on its body come from a six-winged crystal crab, which is unusual to Hertz because it is supposed to be a peaceful beast. Rihanna is unable to comprehend the situation and then notices the six-winged crystal crab wreaking havoc in the distance. Hertz and Rihanna reach the area where the crab is, only to find it completely ravaged by its wrath. Every surrounding beast in the volcanic lake has been killed by the crab. Such a desperate situation calls for desperate measures as Hertz prepares to put down the crab for good to prevent it from destroying the entire ecosystem. In a turn of events, Hertz simply walks towards the crab and shatters its body with a light tap, confused about the location of the crab's real body. Rihanna figures that this is just the molted shell of the crab, with this being the weakest version of it. She adds that the crab might still be at the bottom of the lake, so it's time for her to cook something for Hertz as they wait. She whips out her culinary utilities and grabs one of the crab's crystal, which can then be turned into a rich soup. Since it is not popular, the recipe has not been perfected yet. She opens up a flask with red liquid, bragging about how only skilled chefs can make the perfect soup after collecting all the jewels. She prepares the soup, over which Hertz loses his mind because he has been waiting for it for so long. Unfortunately for him, before he can taste the first drop of the soup, the volcanic lake starts to rise and causes a huge wave in the area which drenches the duo as they stand there, helplessly. Hertz gets extremely annoyed at the gigantic crab that just spawned in front of them. The humongous crab wastes no time before attacking Hertz and Rihanna, while they are unable to comprehend its size. The crab swings its claw wildly, yet effectively to force Hertz on the defensive. He manages to barely duck underneath one of the strikes, wondering why he is being targeted. Rihanna tells him that the crab is after the soup that is Hertz's hands, which doesn't make sense to him because the crab willingly shed its shell. The crab manages to seize this moment of confusion by landing a direct hit on Hertz using its claw, burying him deep in the ground. Rihanna hides behind a tree, wondering why the six-winged crystal crab is behaving so violently, while simultaneously worrying about Hertz. Hertz finds himself inside the discarded shell of the crab, which he finds fascinating, but he is more concerned about the soup staying intact. As he admires the surroundings, a huge claw from an opening enters the shell, trying to grab Hertz. At first, he finds it funny that the crab cannot get to him, but then he ponders about why the crab is not just outright crushing the shell. He finds an entrance nearby, wondering if it has something of importance. He enters and finds an egg of the six-winged crystal crab, which reminds him that this is spawning season and the giant crab is protecting its babies. Hertz places his hand on the egg and feels a connection to the crab inside. The crab expresses its fear of the outside world, so Hertz wonders if it's something specific it is afraid of. Meanwhile, as the giant crab continues its rampage, a rat looks over it from atop a cliff, aiming to capture the crab as a gift to his boss. On the contrary, Rihanna hides behind a rock near the giant crab, wondering what its next move will be. Suddenly, the rat dives straight into the lake and uses the water splash to capture the last six-winged crystal crab. Before the giant crab could react, the rat gets a hold by using its expandable fangs. Rihanna is shocked to see a rat handle a crab of that size with one hand and then proceeds to claim the jewels from the crab's body one by one. The rat tries to directly consume the jewel due to the rumor of it being a delicious soup, but gets interrupted. Rihanna uses a net to grab the crystal, refusing to let it be wasted on a rat. The rat gets pissed and wastes no time in lunging towards Rihanna with an intent to kill. As she braces for impact, she calls out to Hertz at the last moment. Fortunately for her, Hertz blitzes through the opening of the shell and grabs the rat's arm. He throws the rat towards the cliff, claiming to not let anyone hurt Rihanna until he is dead. The rat seems impressed by Hertz's moves. Then, Hertz returns the stolen crystal back to the crab, requesting it to change its target to the rat, as they both seem to have that as the common enemy. The crab agrees and shifts its claws towards the rat, who seems confident that it can still win the 1-volt too. Before they begin combat, Hertz asks the rat if it is from the Dark Abyss and the reason for their appearance at the Gourmet District, as told by his boss. The rat is annoyed that Leonia was found by Hertz, but doesn't let it change the fact that he has to eliminate Hertz now, as he has seen the rat's face. Hertz expresses his disappointment of fighting rats consecutively, and that the possessed rat in front of him is unusually big. That remark ticks off the rat as it prepares an ominous dark energy ball to attack Hertz. The rat creates an evil net that keeps shrinking until the person inside dies. Confident that this will get Hertz easily, the rat tells him to say his prayers as he will not be able to run away. Hertz tries to catch the rat off guard by leaping at it, but it manages to perfectly evade the punch and strike back using its tail. However, Hertz doesn't back down and manages to fight at the same level as the rat, pushing it back. The rat is impressed by Hertz for keeping up, but Hertz seems to be disappointed that the rats he fight have so much promise, yet such fragile bodies. The rat laughs, as its body has been conditioned by the person controlling it to be able to handle 1% of his full power. Suddenly, the rat's speed increases rapidly as it moves fast enough to vanish for an instant. Hertz, unable to keep up, gets thrown around and then gets caught up in the evil net that the rat created before. Rihanna comes running towards him put of concern, while the rat flexes its superiority in battle compared to Hertz. It then shifts its attention towards the crystal crab, but Hertz grabs its leg to halt it. The rat wonders if Hertz has a death wish, but it did not expect him to use his dream to stroke its fear in an attempt to collapse the evil net. The rat finds the idea amusing, even commendable, but it prefers Hertz dead, rather than becoming stronger like one of them. The rat goes in for the kill, but Hertz manages to subdue it by grabbing its hand and putting the rat into a master lock. The rat panics, faced with an unexpected move, while Hertz confidently prepares to finish the battle. A while ago, Hertz did his strength training under a waterfall, carrying a huge boulder on his back. He even managed to land some strong blows that momentarily stopped the flow of the waterfall. Forces enters the scene with a round of applause, impressed by Hertz's growth in the past 10 years. Hopeful, Hertz asks him if he can go to the Dreambeast world like this, but Forces tells him that he is still not ready. Fortunately for Hertz, Forces offers to teach him a technique to survive in the Dreambeast world, and tells Hertz to follow him. The two of them reach a cage, where Forces has a giant wart boar, danger level medium. Hertz initially thought that he would have to defeat this beast, but Forces just tells him to dodge using a handrail. Confused, Hertz wonders what he got himself into,